Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of HR to CHRO podcast. And today we have Mr. Abhishek Nag with us. And to introduce Mr. Abhishek, it will take a while because he has been an engineer who worked with IBM and Siemens. Then he did his master's from XLRI. Then he has worked with merger. He has taken care of mergers and acquisitions. He has been a social service person teaching slum kids in Mumbai. He has been an entrepreneur and he has worked with a lot of startups, and he's an HR leader, and he's also a mentor to young HR professionals. So I don't think anything, not too much is left for Abhishek to do. And currently he has worked in Africa, handling 8 countries for a HR leadership role, and currently he's working with Formax with 40,000 employees and around 8 to 10 group companies. So welcome to the podcast, to the session, Abhishek. Thanks for giving us time.
Thank you, Amit. It's great that you reached out, and it's a pleasure and privilege of mine to be here on this podcast and look forward if I can share something which may be able to help budding HR professionals. And thanks to you, Vishalta, for organizing this. It's a great platform that you have started to help budding HRs. I would say congratulations to you as well for doing this.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Abhishek. So see, I've been talking to many CHROs, and many of them, they either come from the business background, they started their career in sales, or they made an extra effort to know more about business, for example, or to know about operations, to know more about departments other than HR. So is this a secret to success, that if you want to rise to a CXO level, it's better that you have thorough knowledge or sound grounding on business or operations? Is there a method to this?
So that's a great question, and I it is one of the methods. I would say there are different ways to reach the goal, and it's faster if you align with what the organization's business objectives are, because end of the day every role, and that's how I believe every role in an organization exists in its purpose to make sure that the business is doing well. And in financial terms, if you look at a business is known by a going concern, which means it's
Correct.
doing profitably, although that's a
For the
slightly
shareholders.
nuanced term in VC world, but essentially a business exists to make profits.
Correct.
Now, which is why the purpose of a business fundamentally is subservient, is the prime purpose that every employee of the organization subscribes to.
Correct.
Hence, I would say every role should align to the business in some or other way. HR should also, and HROs by design are closer to that task. So the faster you do that, the career trajectory becomes faster.
Correct. Very nicely put. All right. So you were an engineer who was working with IBM, Siemens, etc., having a great career ahead in that way. But then you decided to do your masters and you decided to join HR.
Correct.
So I see, generally engineers, generally they don't join HR. I mean, I,
Yeah.
I may be wrong. I'm not sure because I come from a sales background. But so or maybe I haven't come across people who are engineers, successful engineer to boot, working with large companies, and then they went on into HR. Usually they go into operations or related things. So why did you decide to join HR after being an engineer, and you worked for a number of years as an engineer?
Yep. Yep. Around 6, 7 years I worked as
Six,
an
seven
engineer.
years.
Yeah.
So could we know more about that, Abhishek?
So there was an interesting story between the engineering days to doing a master's and then getting into HR. There was a span in between that where I experimented with my career a bit, and that's the time where I did a bit of social work and then also ran a enterprise for a while, and that was the graduation or gradual change towards a full-time HR career. And for me, unlike a lot of people, it was a very, very conscious choice to pick HR. I had the opportunity and things to do every function that I could. So I mean, while being humble and about the fact, but I would say to a certain with certain degree of proud that I've been academically good all since, and decently well, always been above the 75% mark in general. Decently well, not always a topper, but all have been decently well in academics throughout. Uh, that helped me open up choices in general. Now, well, while in engineering, when I picked up, I was decently well in coding. My first year of career with IBM, I happened to top one of the internal exams that
Amazing.
I took
Very nice.
for its performance, and that led me. That was among India's top 1% of IBM's population at that point in time, and that led me to an accelerated growth internally within IBM,
Very nice.
which is where they sponsored me a executive leadership development program at that point, which was meant for the young professionals, weekend classes and all with IIM Calcutta.
Okay.
That with that I got my first exposure to uh, the management function, so to speak. And then coincidentally, I happened to implement a lot of, while with IBM Siemens, I was implementing a lot of HR systems. So I was primarily within implementing ERP solutions, and also within ERP more focused on HR solutions and all for global clients. And that was my first foray into what HR means, what technology means, and things. And it was I went in deep onto that, understood what all it means, and got to get a very good exposure across, and started acting as a bridge between the technology and the functional side of things. So I had a very bird's eye view, or idea of what HR looks like and how it can impact organizations. But then fast forward, when I started my entrepreneurial journey, that's when I realized how people matters for an organization. and
Correct.
and and it's just so happens that my venture got had to be kind of shut down because of people issues primarily, and that made me realize that how people is important as a function for business to succeed. Because if you look at today, all the other resources you can quickly procure. If
Correct.
and when I draw an analogy post MBA, and that was a question that I was asked in my Excel interviews a lot during my GDPI and courses, that post GD, the personal interview around that why HR, like, and I did decently well in that scores to be qualified, and all my profs were like, why do you want to do HR given your technology background and similar questions. And I think one thing that I stood out, and I kind of stood by that, and made it very purposefully clear that I realize, unlike a lot of people, I realize how not having the right set of people and how people as a
Correct.
driver can make or break organizations. And that is my purpose, that I want to use that driver to accelerate organizations. If you look at different management functions, you can operationally create things to make an organization successful. You can use the financial resources to make an organization successful. You being someone from a sales background, and now on the L&D side, you'll realize having the right set of
Correct.
sales you can make and break an organization. Similarly, having the skills of the people which you develop, and how they are oriented towards sales can make or break an organization, right?
Correct.
So I look at the overall people function, who is hired, how they are hired, how they are treated, how their entire life cycle is managed. That makes or break an organization, and that something is a magic sauce that is unique to the organization. Everything else you can kind of still go and do a copy paste. The people factor is a amalgamation of so many things that you cannot copy paste directly. And being an engineer, I would say everything in engineering has been binary. In by and large, it operates with a zero or one, and everything in people operates everything in between zero and one. So all the infinite possibilities.
Correct. 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 So it's more challenging, it's more rewarding, it's more
It's
fulfilling.
Yes, I made a conscious choice, and I don't regret that. I made a conscious choice, having been someone from an engineering background, and I still code today to post stuff. I still code today, and I love technology. If I had to call it, that's probably my second love or third love, startups and technology. But I I I don't I feel that there should be a lot of tech savviness within HR, especially in these days, and that helps me catapult my journey. That has helped me personally catapult my journey within the HR space, growing fast in the ranks and file of HR, and being able to be at this role. Uh, and I think that's important. Having done multiple, so to your question, having done multiple other streams helps get a perspective of outside in from an for an HR. People who are KHR, no disrespect for them, but that requires a lot more introspection, which is easy when you're taking a shortcut by doing some other stints, getting an outside in view. You can grow ranks within HR, but it would take slightly more effort on one's part to be able to get that outside in perspective.
Correct. Very right. See, the earlier point that we were discussing, the business side of it, the sales side of it, or the operation side of it, the main pillars of the business. Now we see a lot of HR folk, a lot of CHROs moving on into a CEO's role.
Yep.
And people who are coming from the business side or who have thorough knowledge or who have made an effort to know more about business, they, as an CHRO, they not only get a seat on the table, but they also have options available to go and become a CEO.
No, go ahead. I mean, my thought would be like today, a CEO needs to understand finance, needs to understand operations, needs to understand people, needs to obviously understand sales. So all of that functions. If whoever within the C-suite is more
Correct.
agile and be able to do all of that sooner, would be a obvious successor to the CEO, and therefore it kind of becomes a level playing field for anyone to go up that role. For finance and sales, they're more closer to that process, and therefore it's kind of, if you look at the history, generally the CEOs are either finance or sales people. And there are a lot of technology companies where the technology folks become CEO
Correct.
because they can become close to the business. So essentially, whoever is close to all the functions and have a deeper understanding of it, they're closer to that process.
But going ahead, see now the world is in a transition. Ever since 2011, when social media has mushroomed, so as to say,
Yep. Yep.
there are lots of seismic changes, which at least I see in the population in the world as a whole. Now, even if you have good knowledge of, and with the tools and technology available, even if you have good knowledge of other departments, but your people management skills are excellent, then that makes I think that would make an ideal candidate for you to be a CEO.
True, very true.
So here on the and CHROs are in the position, HR people generally and CHROs in particular are in the position where they know they are more people friendly, so as to say, or they
Yep.
understand from the people's point of view, like you said, making other people succeed. I mean, what makes people tick and how to make people work better. So they are in a much better position going ahead to assume the CEO's role.
Yeah, that comes with a caveat. You're right, very right that if someone were to dissect a CEO's role, large amount of time is spent on managing, motivating, and driving the leadership team to a certain degree, and also strategizing. But
Correct.
that also comes with a caveat that a CEO needs to understand balance sheet P&L
Yeah,
well
yeah, yeah,
enough.
yeah, yeah.
A CEO needs to understand financial things. If it is depending on what is the nature of the business, understand if it's a tech organization, understand the technology a bit, understand other areas. So it's
Yeah, yeah.
important for, similarly, therefore, someone, a CHR aspiring for that candidate would need to get those perspectives and those tenets to be able to make a good candidate for it.
So for a young HR professional, what would be your message? That reaching a CHRO obviously should be a goal, but even that is not the last goal. They can aspire to be a CEO also. In today's
Yep.
world, it's becoming more and more easy.
Yep.
And for that, maybe they need to spend that much more time understanding the business side of it, understanding the operations, the sales, the finance, etc.
One shortcut is like you start something of their own and become a CEO of their own.
One shortcut is that, yes. So
Lighter note, I mean, that's jokes aside. There is a set path, and I think for a lot of HRs, probably the first step is looking at a CHRO. But you're right, today's world, the way things are moving, they can very well. I probably 20 years back, that was not the kind of obvious aspiration that would come in, but today it can, and they can aspire to, and they probably will become a lot more, as you rightly said. And uh, I would, and I told this a couple of days on another forum, that I feel there are few tenets which are important irrespective of which function, which role, which uh, job that you're doing, and that helps you kind of succeed gradually in that role and then take up responsibilities, uh, and grow faster in your career. One is fundamentally, I call it work ethic.
Okay.
So, which is a combination of your professionalism, which is a combination of uh, things that you say that you do and you actually follow through that and do. Be doing it with the best of your abilities, not leaving it to chance or things, but whatever. There are people who have different abilities and different personas and things, but bringing that and making sure that you have, whatever you are doing, it's your signature work, and it reflects of your things. So doing it to the best of your abilities, following through your actions and word, and doing it in a manner which is well communicated in a professional, at timely communication and clear communication. So these three constitutes of a work ethic, and I think that fundamental work ethic makes a lot of difference on how people are perceived in by their stakeholders, and that helps create rapport, that helps make them visible, that helps people respect their work, that makes them the default choice for for work being assigned to them, helps the growth path. Now the second piece is being ability to tap and having more, being more purposeful in the things that you do, which kind of accelerates your career path. That, do I have these particular skill sets that I need to learn to? So if my goal is to become X, or aspire to a X role, what are all the skills that I require to be at that role? Have I harvested those skills during my career? My focus then would not be other area things, like maybe I have to put that as my primary purpose, and have the other purposes serve to that. Meaning, I would put in my priority order, I would put that as a top thing, maybe compensation, maybe title, maybe location, maybe other, maybe a team responsibility versus an individual competence. All these will be secondary for me. I would want to know what. I'll give you an example from my personal life. So when I moved to my last organization where I was heading the HR for this organization, so the reason that I took that job, I was in a very comfortable position, doing well. I took that role purposefully because I by that time I had experienced, as a geographical presence, I've experienced North Americas, I've experienced Middle East and Southeast Asia a bit. I've experienced, of course, India as a market. I did not had any exposure to Africa, and I still don't have any exposure to Australia to a large extent. So I said to myself that this role offers me that window into the African foray. And if I'm to look at, I wanted to always think globally and make sure that I have experience of managing different global cultures and understand them. I said that's going to be my way to get into that. And I compromised on a lot of other aspects to be able to do that.
Correct.
So it's a choice that you make between things, that what skill sets that you want, that are not there within you, and is giving that opportunity to be able to be closer to your purpose and make those choices at the right time.
Correct. So these are very important points: goal setting, and then gap analysis, and then strategizing on how to
Yep.
that
Yep.
gap analysis. But before we talk more on them, see, looking at your career, one thing which is apparent is that you haven't been able, or you haven't been afraid of taking risks.
Yep.
You have taken up challenges. I mean, pivoting to the almost opposite direction from
Yeah.
to what wherever you were going. So, is that also a key ingredient, be it any department, be it any function, to rise faster?
So it has helped me, no doubt, that I get a lot of perspectives which takes time for people to understand and things, just because I have partly got exposed different things and roles. For example, being a taking myself, I understand the rigor, what it takes to be a someone who has developed code. What are the challenges of writing a code? And if we in our back in our days, we didn't have the Gen AIs or things where you can waste. We have to write a code from scratch.
Correct.
And if you write 20,000 lines of code, what it takes to do that? How does it take to do a user testing? How do you do a QA? If you have done that and with the rigor, like if your program is not working and you have to single step for probably 20,000 lines of code and do what it takes to do that, it's you understand that. Similarly, when you run a business, you understand what it takes to, like when you have cash flow issues or when you have challenges, how do you prioritize between things, or how to look at your finances, or how to pitch to an investor. All of that is something that I kind of have done it and understood. So I've done sales also, partly selling my own organization things. So it helps put that things together, which then when you're doing a HR role or so, all of this helps you connect automatically to your stakeholders. And I mean, back in the days when I was in Manipal, and this is something interesting also to you. So I believe in when I'm recruiting a particular role, I would always want to understand what that role, what that person does. And I otherwise you kind of don't get that. My style of recruiting is I would want to make sure that the candidate that I'm putting forward, if I'm doing a recruitment for any role, for someone else, for any of my stakeholders. Now I don't do a lot of junior level recruitment myself, but if I kind of headhunting for a senior role, or these days, or maybe at earlier days when I was actually recruiting, so I would want to kind of make sure that whoever I'm putting as a candidate, I am confident that is a good candidate. And if I put one, I would make sure it's 100% hit, that it goes through. That's how I used to work. So for a job description, I would want to understand what the person do, so that I can ask very in-depth, appropriate question about the job to be kind of do a full functional interview myself. That's how I
Oh,
would feel
oh,
up.
okay.
So I got a role when I was in Manipal. I had to hire a role for the role is called perfusionist. Okay, and hearing the role, doing a research and the name, you have no clue what it means, and you're being in agnostic of healthcare terminologies and all. I got a onboarding, very good onboarding to understand all of the departments and all, but still, then like you probably within that different paramedic technicians, what does this person do? I have no clue. And I went to the interview, like the internal person who would interview for that role. I went and told him, and very submissively, and in terms of hierarchy, he was much junior in terms of hierarchy, but I went in with Simone, and that's where humility comes in, that I don't know. I honestly don't know head and tail
Right.
of what this role is. Can you help me understand this? And he's one of the nicest gentlemen that I could say. He said, you'd better see it in action, then you will understand. And he actually took me to a frontline view of operation theater from outside, to a close enough as an internal employee to show how that actually functions when it is going on, what happens, how to do it from a distance, so that I could actually get a picture of how important and what the exact job function is and the role is. And it's just for you to know, it's someone who operates the heart lung machine when a surgery is going on. It's that critical as a role, and how important. So then it a perspective changes of whom you're hiring, how you're
Correct.
hiring, and
Correct.
the moment you start doing that, I think that has helped. That tenet of understanding every role has helped me go deeper in business understanding. So I would say, uh, apart from work ethic, the second piece that you need do is go deeper in understanding everything that you do.
Be purposeful.
Yeah, be purposeful. Absolutely.
Very nice. Very nice. And it also I mean, it gives you trying out different things, has given you so many different perspectives. Like you said, everybody may not be that resourceful or would have that self belief to be able to take pivots in their career. How can a person who started his or her career with HR and is continuing in HR, how can that person learn all this? What so
Yeah, that's a great question, and I get that often from a lot of mid career professionals who are and one thing that I do, as I said also, is that mentor a lot of HR professionals in who are junior HRs or mid career HRs, and that question comes very often, that I've done this role for a while. What do I do and how do I grow? One thing I told them, and that's my message to everyone of the audience, is that uh, have you taken conscious steps back within the HR role to explore all the areas of HR? If you are aspiring to if you want to stay up a specialist, let's say uh, someone who wants to grow into the talent acquisition space, or someone who wants to grow in the L&D space, or someone who wants to be a generalist, become a HR role, you need to, even within that, you need to kind of go deep in each areas of the sub functions of that particular area. So if it's a talent acquisition, have you done all the aspects of talent acquisition? It involves employer branding, it involves other areas. Similarly, if it is probably HR sales role, then have you done something like a right from a recruitment to L&D to compliance to have you, if not you have, I mean, not, as you rightly said, not everybody would have the opportunity to do each role in depth, but at least have got understanding deeper that what it means. And I'll give a very simple example to this. A TA person can know a lot more about payroll and compliance if they were to just go and study an offer letter,
Correct.
how they're preparing. And so taking that extra step, being purposeful, that I also need to kind of understand what are the components of it, how does it get created, what can happen, what can be, what you can do, what you cannot do. So everything, when you go deep a layer, kind of unfold, like the petals of an onion, unfold the layers, you go a level deeper, and that helps you enrich your horizon of understanding of the function. And that today we probably have heard of this. There used to be a career shape which is vertically, then it came T. Now it's multiple T's, like H shape, or other shapes, where you
Correct.
go deep in multiple horizons and then go flat across one function. So going multiple of these functions, going deep into it, is critical for being a journalist.
Correct. I think, listen, see, when we started, when in my career, there were no mentors. You were on your own and
Yeah,
doing different things, and you would wonder about, see, my classmate is earning this much, his package or her package is this much. Am I doing something wrong? What should I do something different? Rather than having a longer term view that if that is where I want to reach, then these are just noises, and this is what I should be doing.
correct.
Like you are mentoring so many young professionals at mid level and junior level, and so would you recommend everybody to have a good mentor who can give them that perspective or help them in their career journey?
I say multiple. You should always have. I have been, as you rightly said in the beginning, I did not have, but as a course of work progressed, I got some good mentors during the late part of career, and I'm very happy and privileged to have them. And equally, I would recommend everybody should find out, because then you need a sounding board when you are making some decisions for yourself, that you want to hear a third party perspective who is not directly involved in your life, to know what other thoughts that you may be missing out and you should consider. And that's where a mentor comes in. I don't believe in like showing one path to someone. Everybody should be able to choose their path based on what interests they have and what their competencies are. But how to identify that, how to pick that right thing, or be able to act as a self critic or help them be that, showing them the mirror, that's what the role of mentor is. And I think everybody should have that. It can be different people for different things, and maybe you want to have a career mentor, maybe you want to have a personal mentor who helps you, but the more balanced you are and more sounding board that you have, and a lot of people, I mean, people who are married, have their spouses as a partner, as a
Correct.
sounding board, and that helps also. I mean, so everything, whoever can give you that unfiltered feedback is something that you should look for, I'd say.
We also talked about goal setting and gap analysis, and then
Yeah.
strategizing on how to make a strategy for your career. So some thoughts on that, on goal setting, gap analysis, strategizing.
So this reminds me of something that I kind of, when I was teaching and working with children, there's something that I learned at that point in time, as um, as teaching is also kind of a leadership journey in some sense, and
Correct.
I use that analogy on the goal setting. So purposeful planning is what is to say.
Okay.
So when you teach in a sort of thing, you plan what the students are going to learn by the end of that academic year. You break it down into smaller chunks which would be taught in per term or so, and then you break it down into daily lessons. So it's exactly that similar format. You want to achieve where you
Hmm.
want to be. You list down the skills that you need to know to be successful in that particular
Hmm.
role, and then do a self-assessment to say these are skills that I excel at or I don't, and I need to kind of do those work to be able to excel in those skill sets and gain those skill sets at a certain level. So maybe, okay, I want to be a let's say a C role, I need to know data analysis. And my role does not require. So can I find opportunities to do some data analysis within my role? I need to maybe a good speaker, or I maybe need to go be a good presenter, or maybe I need to be a well-groomed person. Where or maybe as I need to be good in negotiation, or maybe I need to go. So list down the set of skill sets what someone requires, and I'm talking about both behavioral and functional skill sets, so that it's a mix of both, and list them down and then enable that. First do an assessment of where, so the point of gap analysis is first do an assessment of where are you. And there are multiple tools. Fortunately, there are lots of tools available today. There's strengths finder and all, and also there are tools in using gen AI and all, where you can assess your skill set and do uh, develop them. You can also use gen AI in getting coached in particular skill sets and help that. So it's a lot easier these days compared
Correct.
to, but I think everyone should use that.
Correct. See, one interesting question which comes up is, Abhishek, see, we do mind programming workshops, brain rewiring workshops. So we start for whatever topic we are doing it, the organization wants us to do, we start the discussion with that, what do you need to achieve success to reach where you want to achieve? And most of the guys, most of the participants have the answers because we stay in a connected word like goal setting or gap analysis or strategy. So then my question is, why don't you do it? You have this, you have the answer, then why are you not doing it? So then it boils down to what I have observed is that there is I mean, lack of planning and distractions like mobile etc are there, but the basic reason could be lack of self belief. For example, if I don't believe that I can be a CHRO, I'm not good enough, the brain wiring, the society or my parents or
Yep, yep,
teachers,
yep.
why
Conditioning.
would I try to even work hard to reach there? So how can that self belief, and people don't know it because it's subliminal. Why
Very true.
people procrastinate, for example, there are subliminal reasons. Outwardly they are not aware. So how to have that self belief so that you can start doing all this?
So it's also something called scaffolding, where you define your goals at a level which is slightly achievable for you. Break that end goal down into smaller steps. So you don't become a CEO in next one day, but you will
Correct.
have steps to it. So what is your immediate step? Maybe I want to be successful in doing this particular task. The moment you get that high from getting that small step, the baby steps help you do it. And I mean, all of us have heard that phrase that doing 1% every day makes the
Correct.
cumulative effect, right? I mean, differences between 0.99 to the power
Correct.
365 versus 1.01
Correct.
to the power 365. That point 0.2 makes all the difference over a period. So consistency is definite, but it's tough, as you rightly said. Making a consistency is tough, and so I mean, and I would say this with some degree of honesty, is that it is tough. It's not easy for me also, that I want to be consistent doing this every day. I don't. And what I've realized is that even if and I'll give a simple example for myself. I play a very quick 2 minute mind game. Like I have a app my phone which I play every day, and it takes 30 seconds. It's just 30 seconds to play that, and I try and make sure that every day I do that at time. But I and that was just to kind of enable saying that I want to stay consistent to doing something over a
Very
period.
nice.
But even the 30 seconds, I realized that so initially I used to time it saying that, oh, I'll do it every day at maybe 7:30, 8, 9, whatever time that I find out. So I said I'll do it the exact same time every day. Then I realized that I'm pressing too hard on myself, that probably I cannot achieve that. Maybe let me target to do it once in a day. But then sometimes I realized I'm missing out in 1 or 2 days. But then I said over a period of time, if I were to, now I have been doing it for almost 5 years, and I realized there might
Very
be
nice.
days or few days where I missed, and that's okay. When I look at that 5 year horizon, maybe 2 days, 3 days break, or maybe even at max maybe 7 days break also. You don't stop doing because you've made a gap 7 days. You still continue to. So it you peg it, and if you read the I mean art, the habits, or the power of habit, or all those great books out there, I feel that you start, like, you just have to do, like, a change of
Correct.
habit makes all the
Correct.
difference, and you start doing, and you get happy by the small results that come in, and it kind of makes over the period. And being somebody who's training in sales and things, you would probably see that in sales, when you get quick conversion, it gives you the high, and you kind of start
Correct.
doing it. So it's very similar, that you get highs from those. The dopamine addiction comes in when you start doing the small, and every system today is designed with that dopamine addiction. So
Correct.
use
Very
that to.
nicely put. Very nicely put. All right. See, one other challenge is now it was earlier also. Now more so. Now there is traffic issue. It takes eats up so much time. Bangalore.
Yep,
I
yep.
don't know how you guys manage with the horror stories we keep on hearing. Then there is rain, and then there is social media distractions. So, and like we were discussing that, try to do extra. So if you are a talent acquisition guy, try to understand about payroll, make an effort. Similarly, try to know about different things. But then for a young HR professional who already has so much on his or her plate, the KRAs, KPIs that you have to do. How do they manage time? How do they take out time, even if they want to do it, even if they have the self belief that yes, I can do it, even if they have all those tools to analyze and all, but still it requires time. How do they manage that? How do they manage time?
Yep. So that's again a great question. I think there is a lot and uh, I would say, as you progress and career, and when you have more personal responsibility also, it's very important that you start balancing it, and it's not easy that it comes naturally. Unfortunately, in Indian education system, the key aspects of time management are never taught in school.
Correct.
So it does not come naturally to us, and it's important to, at the first premise, I would say, people should go through some structured mechanism to know what are the different ways of time management. So, like, there are Pareto principles, there are Eisenhower metrics, there are a lot of other things that you know dip, kind of create priority lists. So use there are tools. There is Pomodoro techniques and all of that. So you start knowing different things, what are there to kind of tools at your disposal to start learning time management, and then pick up what works for you. So there are different styles. I personally kind of try and calendar everything in my, like, even if I have to do a task, I would calendar that in my calendar, and then, so that I know every single task is calendared, and I have a discipline. So built in that I follow a zero inbox policy. So end of day, I make sure my inbox is absolutely clean, and all the, either I've access action to a mail or things. So that gives you, and that personally gives me that sense of high, that I've like, my day is clean, and kind of helps me close things and move on. Once you start following any of these practices, you start finding gaps in your calendar or time,
Okay.
or when you start planning your work, that these are my work, this is how. Problem at a lot of times, and even when I was young, is do I would get a work, and I would start jumping at it.
Okay.
That's when the problem begins. If you start planning, okay, this is what I have to do, this is a time, this is my approach to do this would take this much time, and I should think, when should I do it, what is the time, and how do I go about it, and then kind of chart out that before jumping into the work. That helps, that 15-20 minutes, half an hour, depending on what it is, that helps you kind of move through that day or move through that week faster, better, give you certain bandwidth of time. And then the thing that I do is, if I get stuck up in something, I don't kind of stay into that and things. I would walk up
Move
and
on.
move. And I believe in, when you say move on, I actually physically stand up and move on, so that it actually
Actually,
helps. Yeah, it
okay.
helps, because your cognitive load is less when your body and mind is aligned on that same thing. You don't have to mentally just say move on. You're actually physically also moving, and it just kind of clears it up. It distracts you, maybe looking at people or in the floor. Just look at, I open up the door, just so physically, like, take a 30 seconds walk, and just, and that kind of brings back to the tension. So that's my take. And I believe every individual has their own style. Important is to know what are the tools at your disposal, figure out what works for you, try maybe few days of different tools and things. And then the good part is, over a period of time, now there are a lot more tools than that used to be. So you have more things in your disposal. Pick up one, work with it. And I would say this, I have learned a lot from my spouse on that. She's kind of 10 times better than me in organizing things. So you learn from whoever it is, and whatever works. So
Very
it's
nice.
yeah. So it's picking up that thing what works for you, and start. And also, like, physically, it's lot weird, right? How you physically structure your space of living. And I have read things that if you do your, like, morning when you wake up, if you do your bed, and if you do things, it also kind of helps you stay more organized. Similarly, like, your workplace, if you do tidy up in the first 5 minutes of the day, all those kind of relates to your habits, and that kind of creates that thing. So again, the other piece that I would say is, think with structure. So as simple, and this is again fundamental, is all of us has work on a laptop or a computer or things. We are not taught how to categorize our stuff in folders. And I so wish that people were taught about how structuring of folders in systems should work.
Correct.
So categorizing it, so that you can catalog it better, you can retrieve it better, you can uh, I'll give you a simple example. If you ever create a folder on your system, and you want to keep it monthly, if you name it as, like, as basic as, like, a January, February, March, you will realize that takes, it does not automatically sort by a order. If you rather put it as a year dot y, the computer default format is yyy.mm.dd. So if you're using that, it automatically is sorted in a sequential order. So this is a very simple hack. It's not complete. I'm just taking a segue there. The point is identifying what works in your structure, so that you can retrieve information faster, makes your cognitive load lesser. The lesser you put your cognitive load into things, you can save that cognitive energy to
Correct.
do things which you said you can. So if you're working for whatever task, and you spend up 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, you're not brain drained to spend that extra 10 minutes to work on something
Very
else.
nice. Very nice. So it's like Sherlock Holmes in Dr. Arthur Conan Doyle's. No, he says that he organizes everything in his brain in different compartments.
Correct.
He opens a box, whichever information he needs to retrieve. See, another thing which has come up very interesting, Abhishek, is human beings don't like planning for
Yep.
whatever reason. Some
Yep.
theories are because we evolved from the animal kingdom, so we are not wired to do planning, and that is why we don't plan. And it, like you said, education, we never planned, or I never planned, or I didn't see many of my friends plan their studies,
Yeah,
that
and
way.
you're not taught to look at your schooling system, and that's why I have a lot of angst on that it does not teach you life skills. While it teaches on a lot of skills, which creates on employability and all, it does not teach you life skills. School education does not teach you, by design of a regular school, it does not teach you how to cook, how to eat your own food, how to have your other stuff done, how to make your time organized, how to manage your finances, how to the basic life skills, whatever you need to learn to live, they're not ideally taught in schools. And that's a different conversation altogether. But you're right.
Correct. So what is the best time to plan? Is it on a Sunday afternoon, or what would you suggest?
Again, there's something on every individual, what their story is. See, what would work with me may not work with you. It depends. Are you a early riser? Are you a late riser? Are you someone who can spare time? So all that it requires is find out a system that works for you. That's how I look at it. That maybe what works for me may not work for you, because contextually it's different. What I do on when do I wake up, what do I do after that, and how my day is maybe very different from someone else. So finding out, all I'm saying is find out a thing that works for you, and within that there are few nuances. A is set aside some time whenever you can in the week to plan your week. And then set aside some time every day to plan your day. Maybe it's at the beginning of the day, or maybe it's at the end of the day for next day, whenever it is. And also, whenever you're stuck up with something, kind of move
Move
on
on.
physically.
Very nice. So we have discussed about work ethic. We have discussed about purposeful goal setting, gap analysis, strategizing, and planning, so that you plan your week, you plan your next day, and try out different things, make an extra effort to go deeper. So any other advice for young HR professionals or young professionals for
So
that
I would add a caveat to that planning piece, and this is important, especially in when we talk about our bunny world in these days, and right. While you plan for everything, and this is very important, while you plan for everything, you also should not get flustered when your plan goes for a toss. A lot of times you still end up doing last minute, you still end
correct,
up doing things. Do not get, a lot of times it happens that you become, it's too much planning, and then you are too organized, and then if something goes out of your way, you cannot manage because you're mentally blocked and things. I think that agility is also important, that you be able to adjust for things which go out of plan, have that contingencies, and be okay with that mentally. Because if you're like maybe last minute you panic or things, you shouldn't do that. That's something that also needs to come in, where it's okay. It's like saying
correct,
it's okay. We will set it as it, and things will happen. Don't panic. And it happens that we all live in a world where there are a lot of factors beyond our control which influence
correct,
our day and time, and happens for everybody. Uh, People who are entrepreneurs have more, or kind of are solopreneurs, have probably put more
correct,
control on things, or maybe at senior levels have more, maybe depending on different roles. But then everybody has some other factors which are dependent on outside, and and
correct.
and and that should be something that I would say it as a caveat before I move on to the other piece that we're
Correct.
talking.
Correct. No, it's very powerful. See, even for in today's world, even moving on is a challenge. I mean, I used to do these sessions, no, on meditation. So there would be questions by participants, young professionals, that I received a negative feedback from my boss, and what do I do about it? And I keep on thinking about it. And so my advisor, just move on and try, get engaged in doing something. But even moving on has become a challenge nowadays.
Yep, yep. It is. It is, and that and if you keep stuck to that thing, and constantly back of the mind that plays on, you're not able to kind of spend that energy time on something new, and that kind of holds you back from your success. And so
So I think goal setting and having that gap analysis helps you in that, because then you realize that there is a bigger picture and these are just noises. So
correct.
I found, see, I'm an energy healer. I'm a Reiki master. So one statement you said that planning things and doing things in a sorted way, it keeps your cognitive energy levels high because you don't waste energy on. So delegation, for example, is another way. But what are the other energy sapping areas which normally we are not too careful about, where we end up wasting unnecessary energy, which helps our performance?
So one is when you have it's very common that when, and then like with something today, so I got up about something where I felt bad about it, and then I had to get in on a conflict resolution conversation or stuff. Now, it always happens that there is something where you get into a conflict zone, and then you kind of think about what you do and things, and it becomes very difficult for you to move on, as you said, and then that kind of becomes an energy drainer for you. And it takes time for people to kind of have that switch, that everything is like one mind aspect, and then you kind of brush it off and move on. It does not come naturally, and that's always an energy drainer, holding back the past, and thinking about it and things. Now, I would say that there's no direct solution that would, like, you have a painkiller or a balm that you eat and it will resolve things. But it's also that what subliminally, if you start compartmentalizing your mind to say that, okay, this was one transaction, I need to kind of, I have my go back to my day agenda and this was done. I need to move on, and my target is to kind of stick to that day agenda and complete it. Then you don't, I mean, physically, you do not give that mind space to even think
Correct.
about it. So,
Correct.
in a way, making your day fully engaged helps you not have that time of that. And by design, we have kind of, human beings have this short memory that if you think anything, like they say that this too shall pass away, right? So
Correct.
after a point, it gradually fades on your memory,
Correct.
and you, when you allow that instinctive reaction to pass by, and you have now absorbed that, and you've kind of passed that time, then that reaction to that instinct is much moderate, and you'll be able to more reflectively think of it, and it does not act as a energy drainer. So kind of making that every minute part of your day more busy in some sense acts well.
Correct. Very nicely put. And I think having hobbies, like to give the example of Mr. Sherlock Holmes again, so he would start playing violin just to relax
Yeah,
and get his mind away from.
yeah. Doing anything constructively, like whatever works, and uh, whether, like, I play a lot of this different uh, more mind games, like I do a Sudoku, or maybe play something which is more somebody would do something which is maybe art and craft, or
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
something,
Or even
whatever it
gardening.
is,
Yeah, yeah. Correct.
music,
So, yeah, yeah.
something, yoga, meditation, whatever works.
Very nice. So, so you are so fit. So you exercise regularly also, Abhishek?
I don't. I only, and I've never been to the gym personally. I don't uh, exercise that often, except for I do only one thing, and I try to, not say to, I try to control my diet, and not in the sense that is that this XYZ fancy diet. I just eat less, try and eat less, so that
No, I also get the sense that you move around a lot. So you
I
stand
walk
up.
around. I walk a lot, not because I have steps to achieve or things. I just enjoy that process. It physically helps me. I can walk for does just kind of feel,
Very nice.
get that. It just makes me feel good. That's all. I categorically do not walk with my earphones on head, or with my phone on things. I walk just for the sake of walking, or
Being in
commuting.
the moment.
Yes, for physical movement, and also observe people around, things around. I think we're too engrossed in devices at times, and I use that walking time to just absorb the nature, or
Mindfulness. I'm saying being in the moment and
being in the
so
moment. Yes, being in the moment, absolutely.
all right. So it has already been 2 hours. I didn't realize, and then, it has been 1 hour. I mean, we are almost to the limit. So quickly, for mid-level management professionals, any advice or any suggestions?
So I was thinking around, and when you had kind of mentioned this, I think should mention it, and I was thinking what would have helped me at certain points, and as a thought, what should make meaning for people. I think I'd say on any work, as I talk about one piece of work ethic, I would say the second piece is attention to detail, which
Correct.
is very critical in things. Your work signature is all about your attention to detail. That partly combines in that work ethic also, that it's important to speak up what you feel at right forum, so that
Mhm.
people know what your thoughts are, and also uh, speak with coherence, not like speak up just for the sake of, but doing your homework on the particular subject. You may get in a chance in a forum, in different forums, where whether it's an external forum, but more so from an internal forum where your leaders are present. Also, you have a viewpoint. You have backed it with research and data, and you speak up at the right moment with an authenticity, it gives a lot of visibility internally for
Correct.
you to kind of recognize that. Third is thinking about like deeper perspectives of the business, like understanding, doing a market research. I don't know how many people do that in general. Like, uh, uh, you're now working in an organization. Have you done your competitor analysis just for knowing what all things that my competitor does as an thing and we don't do? And if so, essentially, if my point is, if any employee working in any organization, can you list down 10 points that can make your, if you're, I use this analogy, if you'd probably seen that Hindi movie, Nayak of Anil Kapoor, if you become the same one day. So assume you become the CEO of your company one day, what 10 things would you change?
Very nice.
So the moment it's a powerful uh, kind of metaphor, because if you start visualizing that, then you would you'd already are a step ahead, saying that you're thinking strategic for an organization level, and then you kind of, if you list down 10 things, then you'll see, oh, is it possible, can I do this, and then you, what are the costs around it, and the moment you start thinking around it, doesn't nobody is stopping you to do that, right? If you're, whatever public information that you have or internal information you have, when you list down that 10 things and you start, and then maybe you come up with two great ideas, write it down to your CEO, or and then you there's nothing stopping from there.
This reminds me of the Tom Cruise movie. You know, he's a coach. So sports people, I don't remember the name. So he posts that 10 things after a yearly meeting. He posts online to all the employees, and then. But anyway, that's a different thing. I get the gist of what you are saying, Abhishek. So see, it has been we have to maintain the time limits,
Yeah, yeah.
and so we'll have to unfortunately because this is such an engaging discussion, and we can
It
continue
was.
it,
I
right?
didn't realize the time, and thank you for reminding me where to.
So thanks for giving us time, Abhishek.
Most welcome, Amit. It was
Very nice.
lovely conversation. I think we forayed into a lot of areas which we hadn't thought of, and thank you for nudging that, and
The
wonderful.
last, the last thing. So you also mentioned humility, that you had the humility to go to a junior and understand the job role which is required. So again, so looking at you, talking to you, I realize that that's also a part of your life. So stay as you are, Abhishek.
Thank you, Amit, and wish you all the best in your work. The work that you're doing on coaching salespeople, that's amazing, and I think everybody should should reach out to you and look up on your work as well. So
Thank you.
it's great, great conversation. Thank you for having me and giving me this opportunity.
Thanks, Abhishek. Bye bye.